Very good morning, students. Unit 1, Basic Concepts of Chemistry and Chemical Calculations. Basic Concepts of Chemistry and Chemical Calculations. In this session, I am going to teach the introduction of basic chemistry and classification of matter. Classification of matter, right? So, introductions. The chemistry, the center of life. Chemistry, the center of life. வாழ்க்கையினுடைய மையம். உண்ண உணவு, உடுக்க உடை, இருக்க இடம். In Tamil classical language means food to eat, உண்ண உணவு, உடுக்க உடை, cloth to wear, and இருக்க இடம், place to live. So, these are the three basic needs of human life. So, these are the three basic needs of human life. The chemistry plays a major role in providing these needs. Providing these needs and are also help us to improve our quality of life. The chemistry has made up of many compounds such as fertilizers, and insecticides. So both are used to enhance the agricultural productions. Okay, the fertilizers, the main ingredient of fertilizers, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and secondary ingredients, sulfur, magnesium, and calcium. So everyone is a chemistry, alright? So insecticides, the example of insecticides, DDT, dichloro, diphenyl, trichloroethane, right? So CH, Cl, C, dichloro, diphenyl, trichloroethane. See, insecticides, example of insecticides. Right? So these are used to enhance the agricultural productions. Okay. Next, modern cement. Concrete mixtures, and quality steels. Okay, so these are used to build, so better building or strong building. These are used to build strong building. Okay, the major ingredient of cement, silica, alumina, magnesia, iron oxide, calcium sulfate, sulfur dioxide, and alkali. and alkalis. So everyone is a chemistry. Everyone is a chemistry, right? And quality fabrics. Quality fabrics. The quality fabrics is used to make the better cloths. Okay, so the quality fabrics is used to make better cloths, right? The chemical industries they manufacture a broad range of new and useful materials such as polymers, dyes, alloys, and life-saving drugs, right? So polymers, the chemical industries manufacture a broad range of useful materials such as polymers. The example of polymers: polythene, polystyrene, right? So second one, the dyes, சாய பொருட்கள், right? So third one is alloys, the mixture of metals, உலோக கலவை. The example of alloys: brass. The brass contain the mixture of zinc and copper metals. Right? So the fourth one is a life-saving drugs. உயிர் காக்கும் மருந்துகள். Okay, so that are used to everyday life. Polymers, dyes, alloys, and life-saving drugs, right? So when the HIV, AIDS epidemic, the AIDS epidemic began in early 1980s. 1980s, the patients rarely longer lived than a few years. But now the many effective medicines are available to fight the infections, and people with the HIV infections have longer and better life, right? So everything is chemistry, right? Okay, students, the next one is classification of matter. The next one is classification of matter. Classification of matter. Okay, so define matter. So matter is defined as anything that has mass and occupies space is called matter, right? So matter is defined as anything that has mass and occupies space. ஒரு மாஸ் இருக்கக்கூடிய மாஸ் இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு இடத்தை அணைத்துக் கொள்ளக்கூடிய எல்லா பொருட்களையுமே நம்ம மேட்டர் அப்படின்னு சொல்றோம். So subspace is a matter. The subspace has mass and occupies space. Occupies some space. Are you right? The all matter is composed. The matter is composed. The matter is composed of atoms. The matter is composed of atoms. Right? Already you know that. Define atoms. The atom is the smallest electrically neutral particles. The atom is the smallest electrically neutral particles. The atom is made up of the fundamental particles, namely proton, electron and neutrons. The fundamental particles, namely proton, electron and neutrons. The protons is a positive charge, electrons is a negative charge, neutron is a neutral charge. So electrically neutral, that atom consists of same number of, the atom contains the same number of protons and electrons. So atom is a electrically neutral particles. So matter is composed of atoms. The atoms can join together to form a molecules. You right? So the matter is defined as anything that has mass and occupies space. Okay, so 2 mark question, define matter. Right? So in order to understand the properties of matter, so better we need to classify them. The matters are classified into major 2 types. Alright? The classification of matter, the matter is classified into major 2 types. One is a physical classification, another one is a chemical classification. Right? So one is a physical classification. One is a physical classification, another one is a chemical classification. Physical classifications, another one is a chemical classifications. Right. The physical classification of matter. So matter can be classified as solids, liquids and gases. Solids, liquids and gases. So based on physical state. Right? So the example of solids, ice. The example of liquids, water. The example of gas, steam or water vapor. Okay, so the physical matters can be converted into one another by modifying temperature and pressure suitably. You right? The physical matters can be converted into one another, solid to liquid and liquid to gases, by modify temperature and pressure suitably. For example, ice. The ice is converted into water at 0 degree Celsius. 0 degree Celsius. Ice is converted into water. And 100 degree Celsius. So water is converted into steam. The physical matter is converted into one another by modifying temperature or pressure suitably. Are you right? Okay students, the next one is chemical classifications. Chemical classifications. The matter can be classified as two types. One is a mixtures, another one is a pure substance. One is a mixtures. One is a mixtures, another one is a pure substance. Pure substance. So based on chemical compositions, the chemical classifications are based on chemical composition. Chemical compositions. But on physical classifications are based on physical state. Physical state. Right? So the chemical classifications are based on chemical compositions. And physical classifications are based on physical state. Right? So define mixture. Define mixture. Right? The chemical classifications are classified into two types. One is a mixtures, another one is a pure substance. The mixture, define mixtures. The mixtures consist of more than one chemical entity. Present. Right? The mixtures consist of more than one chemical entity present without any chemical interaction. Without any chemical interaction. Are you right? So mixtures consist of more than one chemical entity. For example, salt and water. Salt and water. Sand and water. Sand and water. Sand, iron particles and water. Oil and water, okay, and etc. So more than one chemical entity present without any chemical interactions. So no chemical. So chemical reaction does not occur. Chemical reaction between the two substances. Okay, so the presence of component cannot involve in chemical reaction in these mixtures. Are you right? So salt and water. Salt cannot react with the water. And sand and water. Sand does not react with the water. Sand, iron and water. So both are does not reaction involve in reactions. Are you right? So the mixtures can consist of more than one chemical entity present without any chemical interactions. Are you right? So the mixtures can easily separated back into its original components. Right? So mixtures can be easily separated back into its original components, salt and water, so easily separated in evaporation process. Sand and water, so easily separated by using evaporation process. So magnetic separation, iron is separated, use magnet, iron is separated, and sand and water, vaporization process. So easily, so separate on each one. Are you right? Okay, so the mixtures are further classified into two types. The mixtures are further classified into two types. One is a homogeneous mixtures. One is a homogeneous mixtures. Homogeneous mixtures. Another one is a heterogeneous mixture. One is a homogeneous mixture, another one is a heterogeneous mixture based on physical appearance. Based on physical appearance. based on physical appearance. Okay, so physical classification are based on physical state. The chemical classification are based on chemical composition. The classification of mixtures are based on physical appearance. Physical appearance. One is a homogeneous, another one is a heterogeneous. So what is the meaning of homogeneous and heterogeneous? The homogeneous means the components mixed are uniformly distributed. The uniformly distributed throughout the mixture. Throughout the mixture, right? So homogeneous means the components mixed are. For example, salt and water. Right? So sugar and water. The components, salt and water, sugar and water. The components mixed are uniformly distributed throughout the mixtures. We can observe only one phase. We can observe only one phase of the matter. Right? We can observe only one phase of the matter. So salt and water. Salt waterல mix பண்ணிட்டோம் அப்படினா நமக்கு சொல்யூஷன் மட்டும் தான் கண்டது. சால்ட் தனியா வாட்டர் தனியா செப்பரேட்டா இருக்கு. சுகரை கொண்டு போய் வாட்டர்ல ஆட் பண்ணிட்டோம் அப்படினா சுகர் தனியா வாட்டர் தனியா தெரியாது. சொல்யூஷனா நமக்கு கண்டது. So we can observe only one phase of matter. Is a homogeneous mixture. So example, salt and water and sugar and water. Next one is a heterogeneous mixtures. The components sand and water. Right? So sand, iron and water. Oil and water. The components mixed are does not uniformly distributed throughout the mixture. So homogeneous is a uniformly distributed throughout the mixture. Heterogeneous does not uniformly throughout the mixture. In a homogeneous, we can observe only one phase of the matter. But in heterogeneous, we can observe more than one phase. For example, we can observe solid state sand and liquid state water. But in homogeneous, so salt completely dissolved in water, you can see only one phase. But in heterogeneous mixture, we can see different phases. The solid state, the physical state, the physical appearance in solid, so water is liquid. So physical appearance, sand and iron is a solid, but water is liquid. Right? So in another one example, in a homogeneous air. Okay, so air is a homogeneous mixture. We can observe a single phase. We cannot observe more than one boundaries. So no boundary between the components in a homogeneous mixture. So does not occur boundary between the components. Okay, but the boundary occurs between the more than one components in a heterogeneous mixtures. Are you right? So the mixtures are classified into more than two types, so based on physical appearance. One is a homogeneous, another one is a heterogeneous. Okay students, the next one is pure substance. The next one is pure substance. The pure substance are composed of simple atoms. Simple atoms or molecules. So right, the pure substance are composed of simple atoms or molecules. The pure substance are also further classified into two types. One is a elements, another one is a compounds. One is a elements, another one is a compounds. Compounds, right? So define elements. Define elements. The elements consist of only one type of. The element consists of only one type of atom. Only one type of atom. Already you know that atom. So atom is a smallest electrically neutral particles. They are made up of fundamental particle, namely proton, electron and neutrons. The element can exist as monoatomic unit. Monoatomic unit and polyatomic unit. Right? The element can exist as monoatomic units or polyatomic units. The polyatomic units are called molecules. The polyatomic units are called molecules. The example of monoatomic units: copper, gold. In all metals are monoatomic units. Right? And metalloids are also boron, zirconium, okay, silicon is a monoatomic units. Okay, so only one type of atom. The element consists of only one type of atom. The copper contains the copper atoms. All the copper, the element contains more than copper atoms. The gold consists of more than gold atoms. The polyatomic units are called molecules. The example of polyatomic units. Example of polyatomic units: H2. Polyatomic units: H2. Hydrogen molecules. Hydrogen molecules. It's not a hydrogen element. It's a hydrogen molecules. Okay, so more than one element consists in the molecules. So two hydrogen elements combine with the give hydrogen molecules. And phosphorus P4. It's a polyatomic unit, phosphorus. Phosphorus molecules. The phosphorus molecules contain 4 phosphorus elements. 4 phosphorus elements. And sulfur S8. Sulfur S8. Right? So the sulfur molecules contain 8 sulfur elements. 8 sulfur elements. Are you right? So polyatomic units are called molecules. Are you right? So the elements consist of only one type of atoms, but compounds. The compounds made up of molecules. compounds. The compounds are made up of molecules. The compounds are made up of molecules. The compounds are made up of molecules which contain two or more atoms. Two or more atoms of different elements. So the compounds are made up of molecules. The compounds are made up of molecules which contain two or more atoms of different elements. So an example, carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is a molecules. Okay, so more than two or more atoms of different elements. Okay, so one carbon and two oxygen are present in the carbon dioxide molecules, carbon dioxide compounds. Glucose C6H12O6. The glucose compounds contain 6 carbon elements and 12 hydrogen elements and 6 oxygen elements. So the made up of molecules which contain 2 or more atoms of different elements. So, two or more atoms of different elements, carbon, hydrogen and oxygens. So, both are different elements present in the glucose molecules. Hydrogen sulfide, sodium chloride. So, right? So, the sodium chloride, the compounds are made up of molecules which contain 2 or more atoms of different elements. Are you right? So the properties of compounds. The properties of compounds are differ from constituent ions. The constituent ions of sodium chloride compound is sodium and chlorine. The sodium is a shiny metal. But chlorine is a irritating gas. So sodium easily dissolve in water to give alkaline solution, sodium hydroxide. So chlorine does not dissolve in water, right? But the different elements combined with gives sodium and chlorine gives sodium chloride compounds. That sodium chloride compound is a crystalline solid. Easily dissolve in water to give neutral solution. The vital for biological function. So vital for biological function. So biological function ரொம்ப முக்கியத்துவமானது. You right? So difference between mixture and compounds. The mixtures consist of more than one chemical entity presence. So without any chemical interactions. But compounds, chemical interaction is occurs. The sodium reacts with the chlorine to give sodium chloride compound. Are you right? So the classification of matter is a 5-mark question. Are you right? So the classification of matter, the matter is classified into 2 types. One is a physical classification. Another one is a chemical classifications. Right? The physical classifications are further classified into 3 types based on physical state, solid, liquid and gaseous. Right? The chemical classifications based on chemical composition. Right? So we classified into 2 types, mixtures and pure substance. The mixtures are classified into 2 types based on physical appearance. One is a homogeneous, another one is a heterogeneous natures. Okay, the pure substance. The pure substance are classified into two types. One is the elements, another one is the compounds. You right? So 5 more questions. Okay, students. Thank you, students. We'll meet next class.